All right, let's tackle a really heavy question. If a World War III were to happen today, what would actually happen to the global economy? Now, this isn't about predicting if a war will happen. It's about understanding the consequences if it did. Because, in our hyper-connected world, the first shots fired probably wouldn't involve tanks or planes. They'd target the very systems that link everything together. So let's dive in.
So to really get a handle on the risk here, you've got to understand one massive difference between now and the past. Back in World War II, you had these industrial, kind of self-contained national economies. But a war today, it would hit a system that is completely globally interconnected. It's all digital. And that total seamless integration, well, that's what changes the entire game. It's the single biggest vulnerability we have, and it's what we're going to break down.
And you'll see how this vulnerability creates this catastrophic chain reaction, like a set of perfectly lined up dominoes. It all kicks off with a massive financial flash crash. That crash then triggers a total gridlock in the physical world, shipping, manufacturing. From there, the very idea of money starts to just evaporate. And that leads to the final, most devastating consequences for people. Each one of these steps is a direct result of the one before it.
Okay, so what do we actually mean when we say hyper-connected? Well, think about it. We're living in a world where money, the things we make, and all our data are just so tightly woven together across every border. The whole global system basically acts like one giant machine. And hey, in peacetime, that's amazing. It's super efficient. But, and this is the big but, in a time of war, that same interconnectedness creates this massive single point of failure.
All right, so here's where it gets crazy. The first casualty in a war like this, it's not going to be on some distant battlefield. Nope. It's going to happen right in the digital heart of the global economy, the financial markets. And the most shocking part, it won't take months or weeks to unfold. We're talking minutes.
Literally, the instant a war is declared, it's not even people making decisions. It's high-frequency trading algorithms, computer programs that will kick off a massive, automated global sell-off. Within just 15 minutes, you'd see the circuit breakers trip on every major stock exchange. New York, London, Tokyo, all of them. Trading just stops cold. By the end of that first 24-hour period, the global markets would be completely paralyzed. Just useless.
And the amount of money we're talking about here, it's just staggering. It's hard to even wrap your head around it. Over $20 trillion in wealth. And that's not some abstract number. That's people's pensions, their life savings, their investments, all of it just gone, wiped out. And not over years, like in the Great Depression. This happens in minutes. The speed itself is the weapon.
So you have this massive panic, right? Where does all that digital money try to go? It tries to become real. It flees into anything physical you can touch. The price of gold and silver? It would absolutely skyrocket because people would see them as the only real money left. Even physical cash, especially US dollars, would be king, at least for a little while. And on the flip side, anything that's seen as purely digital or just an idea like crypto or tech stocks, they would get hammered. We're talking a near total wipeout.
But that financial crash, that's just the first domino. The shockwave from that digital implosion immediately slams into the physical world. It paralyzes the very systems that we depend on every single day to move stuff, make stuff, and even just keep the lights on.
And here's the perfect way to understand the problem. Just think about the phone that's probably in your pocket right now. An iPhone, for example, is built from parts that come from 43 different countries. It's this incredibly complex, beautiful dance of global logistics. Well, in a world war, the music just stops. That dance ends. And the supply chain doesn't just get a little slower, it shatters. So why does it shatter? Well, because the main arteries of global trade would be cut off almost immediately. These critical choke points, places like the Strait of Malacca or the Suez Canal, they become active war zones. They're mined, they're blockaded, but here's the real killer detail. The big maritime insurers, the companies that underwrite all this shipping, they would just revoke their coverage. No insurance, no ship is going to leave port. And the result is terrifyingly simple. International shipping just stops.
And this right here might be the single most fragile point in the entire global economy. Think about this. 90% of the world's most advanced computer chips, the tiny brains inside of everything we use, are made in one single place, Taiwan. So what happens if that one place goes offline? The consequences aren't just bad, they're immediate and they're absolute.
And here's what those consequences look like. Global electronics production just ends, period. No new cars, no new phones, no new servers to run the internet, no new life-saving medical gear. The engine that powers our entire modern world simply turns off.
And at the exact same time, energy becomes a weapon. Pipelines get blown up. Entire countries have their oil supplies cut off. The price of a barrel of oil would just explode, soaring past $250. And guess what? The energy that's left would be diverted to the military. For everyone else, that means rolling blackouts and factories across the world going dark.
Okay, so let's recap. The financial markets are toast. The physical supply chains are broken. What could possibly be next? Well, the next domino is something even more basic, more fundamental. It's the idea of money itself. Because when you get right down to it, money is just trust. And in this scenario, that trust is completely gone.
You know that global payment system, SWIFT? It's basically the plumbing that lets money move between countries. Well, it would be turned into a weapon. The world would split into two completely separate, incompatible financial systems. You'd have the West on one side and the East on the other, using its own system. And the two sides couldn't do business. It's like the global economy gets chopped right down the middle.
So, a big question. How do governments pay for all this? Well, they do the one thing they can. They print money. Lots of it. Central banks would just start creating trillions of dollars, euros, you name it, right out of thin air. But all this new cash just floods the system, making it worthless. People lose all faith in it, and that's the spark that lights the fire of hyperinflation. We're talking about a world where the price of a loaf of bread could double from one day to the next.
And this is where it gets really personal. See, hyperinflation isn't just some boring economic term. It means that everything you've ever saved, your pension, your bank account, your investments, all of it, loses all its value. Its purchasing power just vanishes. It all becomes effectively zero.
And all of this leads us to the final, most terrifying dominoes, the ones that hit people directly. With the economy in absolute ruins, the two things that underpin our entire modern lives, the food we eat and the digital world we rely on, they just start to fall apart. You know, modern farming is incredible. It's a miracle, really. But that miracle runs on one thing: fertilizer. And the key components for a huge chunk of the world's fertilizer come from Russia and Belarus. Take them out of the equation, and global crop yields could fall by almost half. That doesn't just mean food gets expensive, it means widespread, systematic famine, because every country with food would hoard it for themselves. Meanwhile, the war goes digital, and we're not talking about simple hacking. We're talking about something called logic bombs. State-sponsored hackers would go after bank records, but their goal wouldn't be to steal your money. Oh no. Their goal would be much worse: to erase the records entirely. The proof that you own your house, your car, your savings, poof, gone. The next cyber attack would actually be physical. It's shockingly easy for a submarine to go down and just snip the undersea fiber optic cables that are the literal backbone of the global internet. And since 99% of all international data runs through those thin, vulnerable cables, cutting them would basically unplug entire continents from each other. So you put those two things together, and what do you get? The final blow. Bank records are gone, the internet between countries is cut, and just like that, the digital economy as we know it ceases to exist. ATMs go dark. Online banking is just a memory. Amazon, online shopping, all gone. We'd be thrown back into a world of paper and cash, except that cash is now worthless. So, after all of that, what's left? What does the world look like? The source material is pretty clear on this. This isn't a recession. It's not even a depression. It's a fundamental reset of how the world works, a real and truly terrifying Great Reset.
In this new world, globalization is just over. Nations would have to try and become totally self-sufficient, making everything themselves. The middle class would be gone, completely wiped out by that hyperinflation we talked about. And free markets, they'd be replaced by government-controlled economies that ration everything from food to fuel. And here's the bottom line: whoever wins this war inherits a broken, starving planet. There are simply no economic winners here.
And that really leaves us with one final, very chilling question to think about. This incredible, hyper-connected world that's given us so much, it's also created a system that's more fragile than ever before. Which really makes you wonder. In a world where everything depends on everything else, is a total cascading collapse the only possible outcome of a major war?